What is going on, everybody? We are back. ABJ presents Tornado Tag, episode 158, King of the Ring, 1995, which is pretty much general senses of one of the worst professional wrestling shows of all time.
Yes,
It's up there.
It's up there.
You said it best. It was
the less said, the better.
Yeah, you said it best. It was it was like a Monday Night Raw of its time on a pay-per-view.
Yeah, there's such a thing as so bad it's good, or there's like something that is like there's something you can kind of pull enjoyment out of. This is just bad. This is just bad.
It's crazy too because the next year turned out to be one of the most iconic King of the Rings of all time.
Oh yeah, you don't have to tell me I was at this one and not that one. You don't have to tell me how good next year's was. All right, you don't have to tell me that.
But before we get into it, we will. I'm feeling a little. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard lately. Every time I have a guest on, we do live. There's this delay that's happening, and it's driving me bananas. So we may step on each other a little bit here when we're live, or if you're listening to this back, we're not. I mean, there is no tag rope when it comes to this podcast, but it is. It's going to be a little different. But we are here live on a Wednesday. So over the weekend we have been a little busy, both of us doing things with wrestling shows or being burnt out from wrestling shows, so we took Sunday off. But we're here on a Wednesday. But let's kind of get into it. Let's talk about what's going on this week in wrestling, things that are happening, as well as I smell something funny. Sabrina's the worst, absolute worst. But anyway, our Scarlet Joe Cherry Pie Hansen, I forget the name.
Yeah. I had her name is Nancy. Her name is Nancy.
Nancy. It is Nancy. Nancy? Yes. Yeah. I don't know what Streamlabs.
So yeah,
times 3 combo, but we'll take it. Thanks, Streamlabs.
We got it. Sure, yeah. I think we get bonus points today. So yeah, we were a little busy this weekend. You and I were both in Philadelphia for the Fight Pit on Friday. So that was a lot of fun. And then we were both on the call at separate shows. You were at New Era Pro Wrestling. I don't know the exact town.
I barely Lions. Something I don't know. I don't know these town names.
All those little towns in Northeast Pennsylvania tend to blend together a little bit.
Yeah, and what's the one that we like? What's the town that we like?
Oh, there's two of them. And they're on the same highway sign. Ashley and Sugar Notch. It just sounds like the name of a dancer. Now taking a stage, Ashley Sugar Notch. Sugar Notch.
I want to go on a date with somebody in Sugar Notch. I want a Sugar Notch
Ashley
date.
Sugar Notch.
Yeah.
Right on.
Well, I mean, the name doesn't matter. I just the town. Yeah.
Oh, you want to go? Yeah. I think it's two different towns. I don't think it's one town. And I was, of course, I was, of course, at AXW. They had a really fun show, We the People. They will be taking it outside at Brewfest next weekend, and I think we'll both be in attendance there. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we're kind of bringing the band back together. We don't get to do commentary very often, but when we do, I feel like we knock it out of the park. We don't get booked in the same place to do that job anymore, really. But we're gonna do some commentary at Brewfest, School County Brewfest, Pilgaru's 3rd anniversary. I think this is like the 6th or 7th installment of Brewfest. I could be wrong. But we're going to be outside in the elements watching some great wrestling, courtesy of AXW and Pilgaru Brewing Company.
We get to check. See, there's that jumping over thing. Yeah, the delay. We get to check one thing off of the old bucket list. We get to work with the best ringside doctor a lot. We get to work with Dr. Frank Romascavage a lot. But as far as commentary wise, at least you have, but I have never worked with the greatest ringside cameraman in the history of professional wrestling. That changes on Saturday. We're working with the Hall of Famer, Smart Mark Gary, and I can't wait.
When did I work with Smart Mark Gary?
He did camera for like oh no, you didn't do IWTV 100.
I did. Well, actually, we didn't do commentary. Okay. I just did. I did ring announcing with Smart Mark Gary.
Yeah.
At Bruce Giving, but I don't think I've ever done commentary with.
I've done music. Yeah. Here we
and go. We've never called a Tony Deppen match.
Wait.
I never called a Tony Deppen match.
You haven't. I've called 2. I've called 3 now. I take that. I've called 3.
Yeah. But so for the people listening at home are listening to the car later, so something new has changed for me. Your boy is now the official
There you go.
TWF YouTube Intercontinental Champion. This belt made by Ruda Entertainment, the R's right there. It is absolutely beautiful. Brian, I took it home.
It is.
I had my family hold it, and they're like, that's fucking heavy. And I was like, yeah, it's no joke. It's thick as shit. We got the ABJ podcast on the one thing. We got the 5 questions with ABJ on the other. We got a little bit of a gold tip. We got the TWF, the Ruda Entertainment, and another ABJ podcast. But there may be another title coming very soon. So keep your eye out for that. And maybe it's tornado tag related. Right, but so I kind of made a joke. I didn't know that spinner titles were a possibility, that we were able to get custom spinner titles. It's probably going to cost more, but I think down the road,
you don't
a spinning tornado.
It should cost less.
A spinning tornado?
No, it's going to spin the wrong way. That's a hurricane. A tornado spins this way, not around.
It's a top-down view.
No.
Okay. But
no.
Maybe not that.
It's all.
But the cult of
look,
ABJ,
if anybody can make it work, sure. Yeah, if anybody can make it work, it's Mr. Ruda. Mr. Ruda. Yeah, I know. That's a good idea. I like that idea. That's a good idea. But no, in this house, we praise Mr. Ruda. Mr. Ruda is one of the best. So if you are looking for a title, if you have a fantasy football season cup, if you have a fantasy football league, you want a title for your fantasy football league, you want to have your own personalized title, Ruda Entertainment is the place to be. Mr. Ruda does amazing work, top flight guy. You want to do business with good people. It doesn't get much better than Mr. Ruda.
Yeah, and you can do completely custom from the ground up. You don't have to do what I do into the spoof. I like spoofs. I think they're fun. But so speaking of the title, one of the things we are going to be adding to the show in the rotation throughout the months is people like the reviews. They like the show reviews. They like the history of people. The movie reviews have been fun, but people want the history of title belts. So that's something we are going to be adding to the rotation, is adding that in possibly next month. I'm not exactly sure what title we're going to start with. So as the show progresses, if you have any idea of future content, please put it in the chat and we will 100% add it to our list and get going with that. My brother says, I was looking for a belt they made and it made me a hardcore title for the Twitch channel. That would be cool. Yeah, so it's like I said, he does great work. So definitely hit him up.
The problem with that is you're going to defend it anytime.
Yeah. Well, I cannot defend this title.
Defend it anytime.
I'm not medically cleared to wrestle, so this can never be defended, unfortunately. Yeah. But
all right,
BP, what's going on in wrestling right now that's catching your eye that you're enjoying? I'm gonna be honest, I have been so out of the loop when it comes to modern wrestling. I haven't been watching, but I have live TV tonight, so I will be watching Dynamite.
Right on. So I mean, SummerSlam is, I think, this weekend, he says?
Yes, this Saturday.
% sure. I believe it is this Saturday. Oh, no. It's next Saturday, August. Yeah, this Saturday is still July. It's the first Saturday in August, so it's next weekend.
That's a bummer. That would have been cool to watch at Brewfest, after Brewfest, if we could survive it. Yeah.
I am going to be in no condition to watch wrestling on Saturday night. I am going to be in no condition to watch wrestling. So I think one of the big stories that could possibly, and this is it's all folding in on one another, is there was just recent news. I think the official word came down within the last few hours that the NBA, and I am getting the wrestling here, but the NBA has announced its new rights deals, which will take effect next year. So the fall of 2025. And they have announced that they're going to have TV rights deals split up between Disney, which is ABC and ESPN, who already have the NBA, Comcast, which is NBC Universal, which is now bringing the NBA back to NBC, which means we get that awesome NBA on NBC music once again, not just every 4 years for the Olympics. And then the third rights package, which is a brand new rights package, is going to Amazon for Amazon Prime streaming. What this means to pro wrestling is that unless something changes, the NBA is now off of Warner Brothers Discovery after this next season, which is TBS, TNT, and Max. And TBS or Warner Brothers Discovery is saying that what the NBA is saying is that they had the Warner Brothers Discovery made a matching offer for the Amazon deal, and that the NBA rejected it in favor of the Amazon deal. Warner Brothers Discovery is arguing that Amazon doesn't have the right to that they just had the right to match, and if they matched, then the NBA had to accept their offer. I'm guessing between the NBA's lawyers and Amazon's lawyers, they're going to be able to get that cleared, and that the NBA will be on Amazon. What this means is now there's already been rumors that an AEW rights deal with Warner Brothers Discovery is imminent. And I think, and this is just me, I'm by no means a media expert, this is just me kind of trying to apply some common sense to this. I think this is good news for AEW, because now they're a bigger fish in the Warner Brothers Discovery pond. That the Warner Brothers Discovery now has a lot of extra money, and they can throw some of that money AEW's way. It means fewer preemptions. It means maybe, who knows, Dynamite may go back to TNT now, but I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. I know the Big Bang Theory is a very good lead-in for them, so maybe there'll be a net negative. And it also probably means they're not going anywhere. And a long-term deal with a healthy rights fee is good news for AEW. And whether you like them or not, a strong AEW is good for professional wrestling. It's going to make a lot of guys a lot of money. It's going to give a lot of people a lot of opportunity. It's good for wrestling.
Yeah. And I think as of right now, if you are in Europe, you can watch AEW pay-per-views are all on HBO Max. They're all like, you can watch Forbidden Door right now on HBO Max. So it looks like the deal is kind of happening, but they don't think that. I think they're saying that it's not like public yet, or maybe not inked to paper, but it's looking like it's likely. Which also another thing too, Texas, after they had a couple weeks ago, they did a ROH and taping in Texas, and they said they're really going to start ramping up ROH to be its own show, its own traveling circuit, and it's not going to be like crammed into a night where you have Dynamite, Collision, and ROH stream the same night. ROH is going to be its own thing very soon, which is good, because we said when ROH kind of was bought by them and we looked at the roster, we're like, that's the roster of pro wrestling we want to watch. Like, that's at the time Claudio was going to be the champion. You know, Athena's your champion, still is the champion. You got people like Billy Starks there. Like, there's a lot of exciting things to watch in ROH. So if they get a TV deal where it's more readily available, and then ROH library comes with it, that's money for AEW. That's why you made that purchase. Yeah. It's right there.
And if Ring of Honor winds up going on Max, that is a bigger deal for Ring of Honor than separate tapings. Separate tapings mean nothing if nobody can watch the product. The border for entry for the Ring of Honor product is way too high. They're only, to use Tony Khan's phrase, you have to be an absolute sicko to pay $10 a month just for Ring of Honor stuff. You have to be, and not even the pay-per-views. You don't even get the pay-per-views for it.
I know.
You don't even, like, you have to be the hardest of the hardcore fan.
I'm not, and I still pay for it. I don't pay for it. Somebody pays for it. Somebody pays for it. I pay for it.
Like you have. You have to. It takes a certain kind of fan, like especially nowadays, where for me, like my thing is like between the wrestling I'm involved with, and then 3 hours of Raw, 2 hours of NXT, 2 hours of Dynamite, an hour of Rampage, 2 hours of SmackDown, and 2 hours of Collision. And pay-per-views most weeks. That's too much wrestling already. I don't need more.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, what else I'm trying to think of wrestling-wise that's going on? Oh, if you want to hang out with us locally, if you're in the local area, there is a show that you guys can watch for free on Twitch this Thursday, but we'll be in attendance live. Fightertainment is back at Pilgrim Brewing Company. Speedball Mike Bailey presents Fightertainment, so you can check out their YouTube channel. his Twitch channel and watch it live. But we will be in person at Pilgrim Brewing Company. I haven't been to a Fine Entertainment in about a year, so it's gonna be really exciting to see everybody again. We haven't seen Speedball I haven't seen Speedball in a while. Or Veda, or most of that crew. I know Charlotte Tiger's gonna be there. A lot of people I really like, so it's gonna be cool to see them. Also, huge congratulations to Speedball Mike Bailey, going to be bringing that X Division Championship along the ride for Fightertainment this weekend, after winning a little bit of a almost Montreal screw job.
Yeah, a few titles changing hands there in TNA. Nick Nemeth now the TNA champion. Oh, I feel so bad. This show's about King of the Ring 95. It's not going to be that good. Yeah, this show's about King of the Ring 95. It's going to be hard. So and also our new TNA tag team champions. Once again, ABC, Chris Bay and Ace Austin. Once again, the TNA tag team champions.
I love that they're tag team champions, but I feel like they're both should be single stars and should be possibly higher up on the card. But I'm cool with them as tag team champions, but I think they can definitely do more.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. All right. Anything else going on with wrestling or wrestling news that we wanna cover before we get out of here? Well, not out of here, but
I had something and then I lost it. And I don't remember what it is.
We'll eventually,
if it comes up throughout the Look, we have to start late because I got out of work late. But anyway, so Raw, obviously, I think people kind of assume this, but now it's confirmed. The next 2 weeks of Raw are going to be on Sci-Fi. See, back here, I'm going to put the old man hat on. For here for a second. I'm deceptively old. Don't let the baby face fool you. I'm 65 years old. I'm not that old, but I'm pretty old. The USA Network, they announced on Raw that Raw will be on Sci-Fi for the next 2 weeks. But back in my day, they just didn't show Raw. Or before that, I'll really age myself. They didn't show primetime wrestling. I still hate the West, and I love dogs, but I hate the Westminster Kennel Club dog show because once a year you couldn't watch primetime wrestling or Raw because the dog show was on. I don't like tennis because 2 weeks a year you couldn't watch Raw because the U.S. Open was on. And now for the next 2 weeks on Monday nights, the USA Network will be showing the Olympics. So no Raw on USA. It's going to be on SmackDown.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be on Sci-Fi, not SmackDown.
I was shook when you said your age. You look so young. We were telling people at the bar he was 23 plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus? I don't know. Well, actually, let's kind of go back to the Fight Pit. What did you think of that style show? The bands, the opening up the pit, letting the fight happen.
A lot of fun. I mean, the no-ring shows are. I am in the camp that it's not wrestling, but that's okay. It's not everything has to be wrestling. But it's a little different. You have to really lean on comedy and brawling and things like that. But it's fun, and I do like the marriage of music and professional wrestling. It's goes back 40 years to the rock and wrestling connection. It goes back to the man who invented rock and wrestling, M. Harry Smilak, who many years ago. There was a building that wouldn't let him run 2 nights, so he had to run both rock and wrestling in one night, and rock and wrestling was born. So from that point on, music and he's still alive. Dick Benedict's still alive. So he's like the only guy from that movie who is still alive besides the Tonga Kid. So and the Barbarian. So I think it's fun. I think it's something where it needs a lot of logistics behind it. If you want to, I think ideally a show like that is very crisp. There's not a lot of downtime. It's always hard when you don't have a lot of budget, you don't have a lot of manpower to kind of move bands in and out and have the wrestling come in and out. So it was a fun time though. It was a very fun time. I will never not have a good time in my favorite city in the world, Philadelphia. Except for one night in 1996 that we'll talk about a little bit that wasn't very fun. But yeah, it was way better than King of the Ring 95. How's that for a review? I'm gonna damn it with fame praise. No. It was a very fun show and a very cool concept. The first time doing it, it's a huge undertaking. And for the
was the first time that they came together and did it,
really
but
well.
They've done other shows. Pro Wrestling Explosion has done other shows like that. I'll tell you what, I fell in love with the band The Sweepers. So this band goes on stage and they all dressed like, old school sweepers with like the painters white overalls and stuff. And there's two singers, and the one singer, female singer, she has a microphone duct taped to a broom handle, and then everyone throws their trash on the floor, and instead of moshing,
wonderful
she she sweeps this trash, and then while she's sweeping it out of the pit, everyone's kicking the trash back in. I don't remember not two songs they performed because I was too busy kicking trash into the center. It was awesome. I had so much fucking fun. Yeah.
Wonderful gimmick. Yeah, that was. Yeah. And I also the band before them, Los Campeones, who were the surf rock band with who were luchadors also, and would just shout their introduction in Spanish and then play instrumental surf rock. Yeah, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and the lead singer, full kayfabe the whole time, showed up to the arena in a mask.
Yes,
showed up to the venue in a mask and left in a mask.
Yes, I did. I never once. The other two guys, literally the drummer, like, oh, show's about to start, mask on. That lead singer, well, they didn't really sing, but the lead guitarist, the front man, showed up to the building in his mask, left the building in his mask, did not take that mask off one time in the middle of July in a city.
Yeah. I love that.
Cap off to that guy. Yeah. Cap off to Blue Demon.
Yeah, the Blue Demon. Let's get into our topic. So we have King of the Ring 1995. King of the Ring was the third annual King of the Ring professional wrestling pay-per-view event produced by the World Wrestling Federation. Now the WWE featured the 9th King of the Ring tournament. It took place they said it was the third annual, but the 9th King of the Ring tournament. I don't know. It took place on.
I can explain. So King of the Ring, for a while, was something they did on house shows. So they did it going way back into the 80s, and it's how Harley Race got the King gimmick. For a while, he was King Harley Race. So it started as a house show gimmick, and then in 1993, they put it on pay-per-view because WWF used to run 4 pay-per-views a year: WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble. And they were starting to experiment with other pay-per-views. So like they tried something after Survivor Series 1991 called This Tuesday in Texas, which was a disaster. They were apparently trying to tinker with the idea of weekly pay-per-views. I think somebody's trying to challenge for your Intercontinental title. Yeah.
I told them so
this was King of the Ring was the King of the Ring in 1993. WWF expanded to 5 pay-per-views with King of the Ring. And now in 1995, they're finally breaking into the whole idea of monthly pay-per-views, because in the 7 months where there's not one of what they called the Big 5, King of the Ring being the 5th one, they would do In Your House. So this is the first pay-per-view after the first In Your House.
Yeah.
So it's the third one that was on pay-per-view.
It took place June 25th, 1995 at the Core States Spectrum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This pay-per-view is somewhat notorious among WWE fans as it's considered one of the worst pay-per-views produced by the company. The main event was a tag team match, which the WWF champion Diesel and Bam Bam Bigelow faced Tatanka and Psycho Sid. We're not going to go into the win. The main matches for the undercard were Bret Hart versus Jerry the King Lawler in a Kiss My Foot match. And the King of the Ring final, which was won by our thumbnail, King Mabel. In departure from regular protocol, the Savio Vega versus IRS match was originally on Sunday Night Slam, where the winner was added to the 8-man tournament, which is included on the WWE Network feed of the show. So maybe Peacock, I don't remember. I think it was. I'm not sure. But yeah, so this was
It is. It's on Peacock. Yeah.
It had a 150,000 buy rate. Attendance was 16,590, which one of those was BP. Its tagline was "Guts."
I was one of them.
Glory.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think what happened before this show was In Your House 1, and then the pay-per-view that followed after it was In Your House 2. Trying to think what else we got here.
Yes.
I'll let you kind of get into some storylines when we get there. I don't see anything else that we can cover until we actually get to the match itself. Actually, I forgot big wrestling news. Big, huge wrestling news. I don't watch a lot of TV, but people were talking about it at work. Kamala is going to run for president?
Well, no, Kamala's there's 2 problems with that. Kamala, you have to be born in the United States to run for president. Kamala's
Uganda.
from Uganda.
Yeah.
And also Kamala's dead.
Oh.
He's also dead. Kamala Harris is running for president.
That's it.
Kamala Harris.
Everyone else keeps calling her Kamala. I don't know. At work.
Now, if Kimchi is her running, if Kimchi is her running mate, instant vote.
Yeah, everyone at work's like Kamala. I'm like, the wrestler? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it cracks me up every time because I could just think of him going, oh, what was the thing with him and fucking Mean Gene? I don't speak English. Well, you better start fucking speaking English, missing your fucking dates. It was also the old Mean Gene bloopers with Kamala.
Oh, Gene.
Yeah,
Gene.
E1 Kicks in the house, the TWF IC champion, world of the world, ABJ.
Here's the funniest thing about that. The guy who played Kamala, his real last name was Harris. His name is Jim Harris.
No.
Yeah.
It's Kamala.
He wrestled Harris. Before he was Kamala. He was Sugar Bear Harris.
Oh, my God. That needs to be a t-shirt.
His real last name was Harris.
Kamala Sugar Bear Harris, Kim Chi, president 2024. All right, we won't get into politics, but I thought that was funny because everyone at my job kept saying Kamala, and I was like, the wrestler is going to be the president. But let's get into it. BP, let's kick off the show. We talked about it a little bit before. Savio Vega, with the show's star-studded, and we get Razor Ramon, but he's just a manager at this point at this show. But Savio Vega is going to go against
if you
IRS.
Like Savio Vega, boy, is this the show for you.
Savio Vega with Razor Ramon will go against
over another. If you.
Yeah, IRS Ted DiBiase for the qualifying match. Yeah, this delay is wild. On my end, there's no thing saying that where the connection's off. It's really bothering me. StreamYard's pissing me off. I'm not gonna lie.
So this is on Sunday Night Slam, and they explain this on the commentary because Razor Ramon had initially qualified for the tournament, and if you notice when he comes out with Savio Vega, he has his ribs taped up. I believe it was a legitimate injury. I don't know if he was still, if he would have been able to go. It certainly would have made the show a bit better. But Razor Ramon is, taped up here. And Savio Vega is very new. Not new. He was actually in the WWF for a while before this as a masked heel named Quang, the Ninja. He was managed by Harvey Whippleman. And Quang ran its course. Quang was not a great gimmick. And he was, I think he debuted a month before this at the First In Your House because Razor Ramon is locked in this feud with Jeff Jarrett. And Jeff Jarrett beat Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title at Royal Rumble in 1995. So now we have Savio Vega, do we remember who Razor Ramon was and who his manager was before WWF? I can only assume that this is talking about the Diamond Stud and Diamond Dallas Page.
Yep.
Unless we're talking about Starship Coyote, and I do not know who Starship Coyote's manager was, or Big Scott Hall. My favorite Razor Ramon moment before Razor Ramon was when he was Big Scott Hall, the AWA Tag Team Champion, and he's in the Wrestle Rock Rumble video. And him and Kurt Hennig take these flip bumps into a swimming pool in Las Vegas. That's my favorite. That's favorite.
That's a tag team too. That's an old tag. That's a solid tag team.
That's a great tag team.
Scott Hall and Kurt Hennig as tag team champions. Yikes.
So Savio Vega and IRS is the emergency tournament match to fill in for the injured Razor Ramon. And Sunday Night Slam was their pre-show. Shortly after this, they're going to start calling it the Free-for-All, and it's going to be on the preview channel. If you remember the preview channel, that was the channel you would watch before you had interactive program guides and would just scroll through all of your
that was your pre-show
what's on TV. Yeah, so it was literally, that match happened that night in that building, and it was on the pre-show before the pay-per-view went on. So it's it's going to be IRS and Savio Vega. IRS is he's still around, but he's not doing a whole lot of wrestling at this point because he's kind of slowly working his way into a backstage role. He's slowly becoming, now they call them producers. Back then they would call them road agents. So the previous era of road agents is starting to work its way out, like your Chief J Strongbows and your Tony Gurrias and your Rene Goulets. Gurria actually stuck around for a while. But you still have your like Patterson Briscoe, and IRS is going to very shortly become one of those guys. But yeah, this one is if I know I mentioned it, we were kind of talking over one another. If you like Savio Vega, boy, this is the show for you. And this is the first of quite a few Savio Vega matches, and it's a Raw match. It's a Raw match, very basic, nothing earth shattering here. And Savio Vega is going to pick up the win and advance to face the former two-time WWF champion Yokozuna in round one. It's actually going to be our opener. Savio Vega not only is he going to wrestle twice, he's going to wrestle twice in a row.
Yeah, and he's gonna get 5 minutes on that match, and so there's that little backstage. I think it's at the backstage promo at this one or whatever. But he's with Jim Cornette, which, by the way, I'm gonna be honest, I was not a fan of Cornette's promos at this show.
Cornette in WWF is not. It's not Jim Crockett Cornette. It's not even close to Jim Crockett Cornette.
Yeah. I didn't really like his promo. I thought it was kind of weak. But yeah, so we're going to get Savio Vega, and he's going to defeat Yokozuna in a quarterfinal match. He's going to get 8 minutes and 24 seconds. So he's already put in a pretty good night already.
Oof. And Yokozuna is not at his peak here. Yokozuna has kind of... his size has kind of gotten away from him a little bit as far as his ability to work. And he is not the Yokozuna of like 1992 or 1993 when he was a WWF champion. He could still move quite a bit. And so the other thing, if you want to talk about not that great, your announce team tonight is going to be the illustrious commentary team of Vince McMahon and Doc Hendricks. I don't know if this is one of the times, because there were a few times around this point where Jim Ross got fired, or he may have had a bout of Bell's palsy and got fired because of it. And I'm not sure. Well, Jerry Lawler's wrestling, so Jerry Lawler is not going to be doing commentary. So, and a Gorilla Monsoon, I believe at this point, is your WWF president. So he's off of commentary. Bobby Heenan's in WCW. So yeah, your commentary team here is Vince McMahon and Doc Hendricks.
And a little did you know fun facts on the thumbnail here is going to be King Mabel, being hoisted up, but right behind King Mabel are these two ushers who open the doors to allow the competitors to come down to compete for the match. Who are those ushers, BP?
And those ushers, they are ABJ and BP Burke. I told you I was there.
Yep, we are very old.
Yeah, it's with us. Yeah, I told you I was old. Nobody wanted to believe me.
You looked weird with bleach blonde hair too.
I did. I actually, where I was sitting was above them. I was sitting above where these. I did. Well, I wouldn't have recognized them anyway. Actually, I wouldn't have recognized them. They were on TV before this as like jobbers. I remember watching some old Raws from January 1995, and one of them I remember distinctly. Wrestling, I believe, like IRS or somebody like that.
But these guys have a pretty good career.
I'll let you do the big review.
Yeah, these two had a pretty good career. That is Matt and Jeff Hardy. Yes, they are the ones opening the doors at King of the Ring 95. So a little fun fact, did you know? I think most wrestling fans do, but if you're new to the game, we treat every episode as we want to act like you've never heard it before, even if you may have heard it before, because we do have some listeners who are getting brand new into wrestling, which is awesome, and we want to cater to all aspects of fandom, new and old, and maybe just retouching something that they haven't known or watched for a while. But yeah, so we're gonna jump into our third match, which is going to be the Roadie. Real quick. Jeff Jarrett. Oh, go ahead.
So I want to give our audience here that's something. Yeah, everybody's going to know that, but here's something that a lot of people might not know: how the relationship between the Hardys and the WWF began.
There you go.
So this is where you come to us for the real good stuff. So they're obviously from North Carolina, and they had a company called Omega, which was like their backyard thing. They grew into an indie company. A lot of people came from there. Hurricane Helms, Shannon Moore, Joey Abs, a few other people. Some of the Dups came from Omega. But one of the local guys who was a longtime enhancement guy for Jim Crockett Promotions was the Italian Stallion, Gary Sabol, the Italian Stallion, who was always billed as the world spaghetti eating champion. And he was a guy who would do a lot of TV jobs for Jim Crockett Promotions when they would run the Carolinas. And him and George South ran an indie in the Carolinas around this time called the PWF, the Professional Wrestling Federation. Very original name. So usually the way things would work is if they needed people to come in to be like enhancement guys, when you're coming to a town, you would call up somebody you knew locally and say, hey, do you have any guys you can bring in? Like legendarily, when they would do the big mothership 605 Saturday night Jim Crockett Promotions show in Atlanta for TBS, Mike Jackson, who still wrestles to this day, Action Mike Jackson. He wrestles for GCW sometimes. He wrestles for TNA sometimes. He's like in his mid 70s at this point, if not older. He would be the guy for them. So when they were around the Carolinas or anywhere by the Carolinas, sometimes they would call up Gary Sabol, the Italian Stallion. And the Italian Stallion knew Matt and Jeff Hardy from their local indie, their little backyard fed Made Good in the Carolinas. And they would have the Italian Stallion bring guys in, including the Hardy Boys. What they later found out was, because I think the Hardy Boys were like 18, maybe, if that, at this point. They may have been under 18, which definitely they wouldn't do that now. That kind of ended after the mass transit incident in ECW. But they came to find out that whatever they were paying the Hardys, the Italian Stallion was taking that money. And then I guess he would drive them in. I guess he abandoned them one time. So eventually the Hardys called Pat Patterson, and they told Pat Patterson what happened. And they stopped using Italian Stallion and started booking talent around that area through the Hardys. And that's all guys like Jason Arndt, who became Joey Abs, and a few other people. What's Marty Garner? Marty Garner, who infamously was in an enhancement match where he wrestled Triple H, and Triple H pedigreed him right on his head. He was the guy that got booked through the Hardys. So basically, because the Italian Stallion kind of screwed them over, the WWF Hardys relationship strengthened, and they would start funneling guys in, and that led to them having a bigger role in getting signed.
I'm going to try something real quick. Start talking about the next match quick. I'm going to jump out and jump right back in.
All right, so our next match is a surprisingly good match. And the problem with this was these guys were seen as very lower card guys at this point. It was Bob Sparkplug Holly against the Roadie. So Bob Sparkplug Holly, of course, would later become Hardcore Holly. The Roadie would go on to become the Road Dogg Jesse James. But at this point, it's Bob Sparkplug Holly, who is the underdog babyface race car driver. I am hearing a lot of background noise now.
Oh boy. All right, we should be good now.
Much better. Much better. Is the delay any better for you?
Test 1 2.
It doesn't seem like it. I can hear you just fine.
I think we're good. I'm trying a different browser. I was looking at like things that we could fix.
Okay.
Driving me bananas.
Banana. You don't have to do the plural in wrestling. So I was just talking about Sparky Plug and the Roadie.
Yeah.
And this would be like if we had a King of the Ring pay-per-view now, and one of the matches was I'm just trying to think of people off the top of my head very, very quickly here. If one of the matches was, the first guy that jumped in my head was Akira Tozawa, and if he was still there, I would say Ricochet. And if you put those two together, they're going to have a really good match. They're going to have an incredible match that Tozawa's over as a comedy character, but these are two guys that tried really hard, but the Roadie had only been around for like 5 months. Bob Holly had been around a little bit longer, but he was, other than a really quick tag title run, Bob Holly was seen as a very much lower end of the card guy. And it was kind of like, why are these guys? It's like, why is the Roadie in King of the Ring, but Jeff Jarrett is not wrestling tonight? He's the Intercontinental Champion. Why is Bob Holly in the tournament, but Owen Hart isn't wrestling tonight? Why is Savio Vega in the tournament, but Lex Luger isn't wrestling tonight? So you had all these stars who aren't on the card, but Bob Holly and the Roadie are, and the Roadie's going to wrestle twice, and Savio Vega is going to wrestle 4 times. That's what and you can this is like the rock bottom time for WWF's business, kind of setting the table. 1995 is like the lowest point they had, both like kind of creatively and commercially. Like they lost a lot of money this year. So one of the things that happens here is that a lot of guys like WCW is gaining some momentum because, you know, Turner's spending some money on it. Nitro at this point, I think Nitro, if it wasn't announced yet, it's going to be announced soon. Nitro is 3 months away, less than 3 months away, 2.5 probably from debuting. And Lex Luger's going to jump. And if I were Lex Luger, I'm like, they don't even put me on this thing. Yeah, I would jump too. So what happens here? British Bulldog's not on the card. There's so many people that could have been on this card that aren't on there.
But it's weird because, like, if going back and looking at the bracket, right? So this bracket went between May 14th to June 25th. And if you look at the TV, like the first round was all on TV. So they show the bracket, right? Yeah. So you have Adam Bomb versus Mabel. And you're thinking, all right, that was Adam Bomb.
Those are qualifying matches.
Yeah. No, these are the first round matches. First round was Adam Bomb versus Mabel.
They were qualifying matches. That's what they called them.
Oh, well, they have it here as Wikipedia's first rounders. They had Jeff Jarrett versus The Undertaker. You have Kama versus Duke Drosy. King Kong Bundy versus Shawn Michaels. So you're looking at it, you're thinking,
the dumpster.
Is Shawn and Undertaker gonna get into King of the Ring thing here? So like, there's two names there you're excited for: Bob Holly versus Mantar, the Roadie versus Doink the Clown, Lex versus Yoko, and Razor versus Jacob. Jacob Blue. Yeah.
So when this bracket came out, when I went to this show, like I'm going to age myself here. I was 11 years old when I went to this show, about to turn 12. So I was about to go into 7th grade when I went to see this show. So I knew wrestling. I knew the truth about pro. I knew like what was up. I wasn't thinking it was still like a legitimate sporting competition. Yeah. But I went into that thing completely convinced, I'm going to get to see The Undertaker against Shawn Michaels. That's going to be really cool. I don't know who's coming out from that bottom part. Maybe Yokozuna. Maybe Razor. I was like, we might get Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon until he got injured, like in the finals. Like, but then, like, we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, that was what I was hanging my hat on. Oh, it's gonna be Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker.
Didn't quite work out that way. We'll get there.
But in this one, the Roadie is going to advance to face Savio Vega in the semifinals of the King of the Ring tournament.
Yep. And then we're gonna come to Kama, which we all know at this point is Charles Wright, better known as the Godfather or Papa Shango, and he's gonna be with Ted DiBiase, and he's gonna take on Shawn Michaels, which they gave us 15 minutes.
Kid.
Gave us 15 minutes.
Well, they had to.
Because it ended in a time limit draw. I want to know. Did you? I never listened to What Happened When or any of those podcasts. If there is an episode on this, I definitely should seek it out. But like, why did they just like
there is
not give a fuck about this show?
The whole tournament is designed to put over Mabel, and the questionable decision here, because what this is building to is not that in your house, but SummerSlam the month after in August. This is all building to the main event of SummerSlam being King Mabel against Diesel for the WWF title, and that match was bad. That match was not good. So this is all about establishing Mabel as your big heel. So there's some reasons why we can do this time limit draw with Shawn and Kama. You usually, there's like several reasons. One can be time. They want to cut a match, so we're going to give Mabel a bye. So because of this is a draw, the winner of Mabel and Undertaker is going to get a bye now in the second round. So it's going to do that. It's going to make Savio look like even more of an underdog, because one of the things they try to really make Savio Vega super babyface here, because they're in Philadelphia. They're talking about the Rocky Balboa thing. They even talk about how at this point, we talked about this, we were in Philly on Friday. The Rocky Balboa statue that's by the art museum right now. At this point, that Rocky statue isn't at the art museum. It's at the Spectrum. Like growing up for me, it was almost always by the Spectrum. It wasn't by the art museum. They moved that there later when they tore the Spectrum down, or when they closed the Spectrum down. So the big so having Savio have to wrestle 3 times before the finals. Mabel only has to wrestle once. You're making Savio look like a big underdog, big babyface fighting against the odds. Do you really want Mabel having to wrestle 3 times in one night? That's another reason. And a third reason is if it's Shawn Michaels and Mabel in the second round of this tournament, and you want Mabel to win, what does that mean Shawn Michaels has to do in the second round of this tournament?
How dare you? How dare you?
But I can't hear it.
Time limit draw is the way.
What does he have to do?
I've been a long fan of time limit draws, as we all know on this podcast. I think there's really creative ways to.
They say Shawn Michaels was trained by Jose Lothario. I think he was actually trained by Mil Mascaras. No yob.
Yeah, no yob. Don't work for me, brother. Yep, that's what happened.
Like that. Yeah. Yep. I was saving that one for last. I was saving the correct answer for last.
Yeah. So that's going to result in Mabel getting a bye in the semifinals and immediately puts him into the finals.
First, he has to wrestle The Undertaker.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. I forgot the match that happened because that's next. Mabel with Mo will go on to defeat The Undertaker in 10 minutes and 44 seconds.
And there's a lot of shenanigans here. The Undertaker is feuding with Kama at this point. Another match they're building to at SummerSlam is The Undertaker and Kama in a casket match. One thing we didn't mention, Kama comes out with these gold chains. So what had happened was at WrestleMania, the WrestleMania leading up to this, which is WrestleMania 11, The Undertaker, this is a horrible year for The Undertaker. He feuded with the $1 Million Corporation for the first half of the year, and then he feuded with Mabel, and Mabel broke his face for real.
Yeah,
and he had to wear that mask. So, at WrestleMania 11, The Undertaker is wrestling King Kong Bundy, and he wins the match. But during the match, Kama steals The Undertaker's urn from Paul Bearer, and what they said was they took The Undertaker's urn, melted it down, and turned it into gold chains for Kama, and that's what he's wearing around his neck. It's the melted down urn of The Undertaker. And this is when The Undertaker is starting to veer into silly. Well, The Undertaker was always kind of in silly territory, but this was the peak era for the whole idea that The Undertaker's urn gives him magic powers to make him recuperate. So The Undertaker is a little more mortal at this time because he doesn't have his magic recovery power. All of his magic points are stored in that urn. So he's still a wizard, but he doesn't have his magic points because they're all in the urn that was stolen. So he can't cast heal on himself and do the sit-up.
Yep. Damn it, right? Ruins
so
everything.
That's what happened. So that allows that allows the interference from Mo and Kama to allow Mabel to drop the leg on The Undertaker and get the pin. And I love The Undertaker back then. Look, that stuff is fun. You know why I don't like that stuff? Because it's for children and I'm not a child anymore. But when this happened, I was a child and I loved The Undertaker in 1995. He might have been my favorite wrestler. And when Mabel won that match, I wanted to go home. So that's what happened.
Sorry, the delay's still there. So that happens. We get which what I said before. We'll advance Mabel into the finals because he gets a bye because Kama and Shawn Michaels went to a time limit draw. We already know that the roadie has won as well as Savio Vega. So we're gonna get them right here, right now to find out who's going to the semifinals. I'm sorry, in the semifinals to go on to the finals here. And we're going to go at 6 minutes and 36 seconds of Savio Vega and the roadie, with Savio Vega coming out on top.
Yeah, so your final three are Mabel, Savio Vega, and the road. I'm trying to put this in modern WWE terms, and I'm struggling.
It'd be like
really struggling. Otis... It would be like if your final three was, it'd be like Otis. Otis turned heel because Mabel was a babyface up until like two months before this.
Yeah.
And him and Mo turned on their manager Oscar. Mabel's mohawk used to be blonde, and when he turned heel, they dyed it jet black. And so now he's a heel. So it would be like if Otis turned heel, and your final four and your final three were like Otis, JD McDonough, and Tozawa, or something like that. That's about what we have here. That would be like your final three for King of the Ring.
Yeah,
but no, because Otis and Tozawa would actually have a history, so that doesn't even work. It would be like if it were I'm trying to think of somebody on like SmackDown who's like very low on the card. It would be like Otis. No, I got it. It would be like Otis, Tozawa, or no, that still doesn't work. It would be like Otis, some like mid-carder from NXT, and Otis, that Brooks Jensen guy, and Tozawa. Fine, that works.
Yeah,
it's bad. I'm just trying to say it's bad. Okay,
it's pretty bad. Yeah.
Why do I want to watch this again?
I don't know. You picked it.
Yes.
We're about to get to that match right now. So the next match is going to be
even the Bret Hart match isn't good. Even the Bret Hart match isn't good. That's how bad this show is.
And Bret versus Jerry would be a fun. I don't know. I think it would be a fun match, but it's Bret Hart, Jerry Lawler in a Kiss My Foot match that gets 9 minutes and 20 seconds.
Bret Hart and Jerry Lawler were, wrestling wise, were two great tastes that did not taste great together. Just because Bret Hart's style is very serious, it's very, we're gonna treat wrestling like it's real. Everything's gonna be very measured. And Jerry Lawler was part of that Memphis school. He did a lot of comedy in WWF. He was that very old school, like comedic, slip on a banana peel heel. And the feud and the feud was actually getting a little long in the tooth at this point. Bret Hart at this point and Bret. This is King of the Ring 95. The Bret Hart Jerry Lawler feud started at King of the Ring 93, the first King of the Ring. It was on pay-per-view. That feud starts because Bret Hart won the King of the Ring, and Jerry was like, "No, I'm the king. You're not the real king." And then Jerry Lawler attacked him. And then the feud kind of went through Survivor Series. And it was supposed to be Bret Hart, the Hart family against Jerry Lawler and his Knights. But then Jerry Lawler had some legal troubles that we should probably not speak too much of. He was charged with something that sounds like it came out of the Bible. And Shawn Michaels jumped in his Knights, which makes no sense, because why would Shawn Michaels have Knights? And so that winds up being the match. And then Lawler doesn't come back until WrestleMania. And they don't really fully rekindle that Jerry Lawler Bret Hart feud, because through 94, Bret's the champion. Bret's feuding first with Owen, and then he's feuding with Bob Backlund, and then he's feuding with and that kind of lasts through WrestleMania of 95. And then after WrestleMania 95, they just kind of bring back Jerry Lawler would always take shots at Bret on commentary, always acting like he really hated them, but then it doesn't really come front of mind again until a few months before this. And the big thing here was Bret had never really beaten Lawler. So they had a few big matches. They had a match at SummerSlam 93. Lawler acted like he was injured. He made Bret Hart wrestle Doink. And then after Bret beat Doink, Jerry Lawler was fine, and he came and he beat Bret. They did a match at In Your House, the In Your House before this, a month before this, and Jerry Lawler beat Bret through interference with Hakushi, which comes back to this match. So this is the match where Bret finally gets a chance to beat Jerry Lawler.
Yeah, and he does. And then the Kiss My Foot shenanigan ensues. Then we're gonna get our finals.
One of the things.
Oh God.
One of the things leading up to this was that Jerry Lawler kept talking about how, and they even do a backstage thing where it's like he has like a stinky, like dirty sock on with a toe missing, and so they did all these promos about how Jerry Lawler hasn't washed his feet for months. He's like standing in barefoot in mud and piles of manure and garbage and stuff. So his foot is going to be as gross and disgusting as possible when Bret has to kiss it. Hakushi winds up accidentally hitting Lawler, which leads to a Hakushi babyface turn. So yeah, Lawler has to kiss Bret's foot, but then Bret makes Lawler kiss his own foot. And this is what this whole match is leading to. Bret makes Lawler kiss his own foot. And there's even a backstage thing where you see like Lawler brushing his teeth and using mouthwash. I think they cut it out of the Peacock version, but I remember this bit on the Jumbotron at the Spectrum. Lawler even throws up Lawler throws up in that on the pay-per-view. So what happens is they when they show Lawler on Raw the next night, his foot was so disgusting that when Brett made him kiss his own foot, he now has to go to his dentist rather, excuse me, and his dentist is, right?
Isaac.
Yep, it is Brett's opponent at SummerSlam, Dr. Isaac Yankem, DDS. Get it? I Yankem.
Yep. DMD.
It was actually an old Bobby Heenan joke. DDS. Yankem was a DDS.
I think I'm frozen.
Not a DMD.
Is it frozen on your end for me?
I can hear you, but your picture is frozen. Yes.
Oh my god, I'm having the worst night tonight.
There you go. Now I can see you.
All right,
when you switch cameras, after you switch cameras, you were good.
Yeah,
and now you're back to the other camera.
The glag seems better now too. I don't know. I'm just kind of tinkering with things here.
That's weird.
This might be in the stream.
We got 2 matches left. Let's get through it.
Yeah. my ADHD is killing me right now because I'm so. Over the last 3 episodes I did, the lag was this bad and it's bothering me. But let's get to our finals here for the tournament, which will be Mabel defeating Savio Vega in which. Why would you give this much time? But they get 8 minutes and 32 seconds with Mabel winning.
And yeah, so the Cinderella run of Savio Vega comes to an end here. And this match is something I'll remember for one thing. You can hear it on the pay-per-view, but it was so loud in the building. By far the loudest chant of the night is, as this match is coming to its end, a thunderous ECW. ECW in 1995 was by far my favorite wrestling because WWF was at its lowest. I was starting to get old enough that I really wasn't liking the Hulk Hogan stuff anymore in WCW, but ECW was like, whoa, this is different. You would always hear people, because I grew up right outside of Philadelphia, so ECW was something that people knew about. It was on TV down there. Like we had Sports Channel, and ECW was on TV every week. And you would always hear these like myths about ECW, like you'd have the one kid at school be like you'd have like the 3 nerdy kids who were dorky enough to talk about wrestling, and one of them would be like, oh, WWF and WCW are fake, but ECW is real. Or, oh, if you go to the ECW arena and watch a show, you have to sign a waiver so you can't sue. Like, there were always these urban legends about ECW. And it was like later this year that ECW actually started running shows at like a youth club field house right by my middle school, which was really cool.
Yeah. And this is
so that Mabel gets his coronation here too.
And this also gets credited to Vince finding out or becoming aware of ECW, where he was like, well, what are they chanting? That's one of the rumors. Yeah.
So the next pay-per-view that comes into Philadelphia is the much better in 1996. And unfortunately I wasn't at this one. I don't remember why. But in 1996, we get the much better, and we did this on the old show, In Your House Mind Games with Shawn and Mankind in a really good match. Good match. Go out of your way to watch Shawn and Mankind and In Your House Mind Games. That's an incredible match. But that is when like Sandman and Tommy Dreamer and Heyman were in the front row and getting into it with Bradshaw. And again, people thought that was real. People at the time thought that was real. But yeah, so that is where ECW does kind of pop up on Vince's radar, because it's slowly starting to build this groundswell. It's very underground at this point. It's something where if you like, it wasn't underground to me because it was local. But it's where people are like slowly like you would hear about Sabu in the wrestling magazines, and you would hear about Shane Douglas, but now it's really getting to be, this is the first time like maybe people on a mainstream level hear about ECW.
Yeah. And we're going to get to our main event of the evening, which would be Bam Bam Bigelow and Diesel defeating Sid Vicious and Tatanka with Ted DiBiase, and they're going to get
just
17 minutes.
Vicious.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sid, for 17 minutes and 35 seconds.
So yeah, not good. Before this, they do have the coronation of Mabel where he gets crowned and everything, and I was above where I was like right above the entrance, but just to the left of that, to my left, was where they did the coronation, and I just remember all of the trash that was streaming in. People were throwing so much stuff at Mabel because he was getting close to the crowd in Philadelphia, and especially back then, they're insane. So he's getting close enough where they can get hit. Yeah. When was the last time anybody in Philadelphia did anything bad? Don't answer that. The last time Shawn Michaels did a clean job, that's when. So they're just pelting Mabel. And I remember one time somebody had like a balled up wrapper from like a hot dog or something. And I remember, I remember this clear as day. Somebody threw that and it landed in the crown and then bounced out. Like it was a direct hit. Yeah, it was a direct hit.
Did it get caught on camera?
I believe so. He got I don't know what the angle was, but you can see on camera he gets bombarded with trash while he's getting coronated. Just bombarded.
Yeah.
Oh,
yankers. All right, main event time.
Yank 'em. No, I don't want to. So yeah, this is the culmination of kind of the Bam Bam Bigelow against the corporation feud, where we have Bam Bam lost to Lawrence Taylor in the main event of the WrestleMania before this, about 2-3 months before this. So the $1 Million Corporation is, disgraced by him, and he winds up turning babyface. Diesel kind of takes him under his wing, which didn't really work because the Clique didn't like him. So they didn't really put that much stroke behind it. On the other side, you have Sid, who is Diesel's main feud after WrestleMania. Sid, because Diesel's match, Diesel's the WWF champion. His match at WrestleMania is against Shawn Michaels. And I always say that this is the big difference for me between Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. Because in 1995 at the Royal Rumble, Bret Hart wrestles Diesel. Winds up being like a double DQ, but Bret Hart wrestles Diesel for the title. And at WrestleMania, Shawn Michaels wrestles Diesel for the title. And if you watch, you can go back. They're both on Peacock. If you watch Bret Hart against Diesel at Royal Rumble 1995, Bret Hart does everything in his power to make Diesel look like a very, very good wrestler and a very, very strong champion. If you watch WrestleMania 11, 2 months later, Shawn Michaels does everything in his power to make Shawn Michaels look like a great wrestler who should probably be the champion. And that is the difference between Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels for me. Just had to get that. But anyway,
here's we're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into this real quick. Here's where I agree.
Okay.
I agree with the Shawn hate. Right, we're gonna do a whole podcast on Bret versus Shawn. We're gonna have a
I will never
political debate.
All right.
Yeah. But where I have the difference is I kind of now listen. I know Shawn has demons, not a good human. I also know Bret is in the same boat, but I look at Bret more as the guy who.
What didn't want Bret have?
What's that? I mean, Bret was kind of an egomaniac himself, but anyway, I think Bret was fake as fuck. I don't think he put himself out there as the way he actually was.
That's not demons.
It's demons. That's the worst kind of demons when you're fake as hell. But Bret was the kind of guy.
No, I think the worst kind of demons is when you do number 2 into somebody's salad. I think that's the worst demon than really being a mark for yourself. But your mileage may vary. Oh yeah, this is a show. We're doing the Bret versus Shawn debate. We're putting that on that's a Patreon exclusive. I'm gonna wear my Bret Hart glasses. It's gonna be in pink and black. It's gonna be great.
All right, so then I won't get too much into it, but I always feel that like Bret was the guy who didn't want the nepotism name because he came from like a dad who ran wrestling and trained wrestling, and he's really well respected. And Shawn's the Mark fan who always wanted to be more. And when Shawn was coming up, Shawn had to fight and claw a little harder because nobody wanted to give him any play. So that when finally Shawn had the advantage to have the play, he kind of kicked the dirt back in the face of all the people who were trying to keep him back. And Bret was always the guy who was like, well, you're Bret Hart. You're really, really good. You're like the star quarterback. And we always wanted you because you came out of your dad's school. So one guy felt like he deserved the spot, and the other guy felt like he had to work harder from the bottom to get to the spot. And then when they both had it, they both never wanted to relinquish it.
They both had to work from the bottom. They both had to work from the bottom because they came up in the time of the steroid freak. So they both had to work from the bottom. Brett got there a little quicker, and does his name have something to do with that? Probably, yes. But no, what I'm saying is, and we'll save that for another time. But if you watch those two matches, I think you see a little bit of the difference between what kind of wrestler Bret Hart is and what kind of wrestler Shawn Michaels is. And I think, and hey, Kevin Nash is still good friends with Shawn Michaels, so obviously he doesn't really care. But I think if you really dissect what, you could do a whole episode on what went wrong with Diesel's title run. I think a big thing is it was dead from the time he wrestled Shawn, because Shawn did everything in his power to make himself look better than Diesel, and then he turned babyface. So then it was like, well, okay, so I don't want Diesel to be champion. I want Shawn to be champion. And then lo and behold, we come back to 1996, WrestleMania 12. Look what Shawn gets.
Listen, Brett got fucked over a lot by top guys too. I think we'll definitely. Well, this is that'll be an episode. Brett versus Shawn.
So the question here for
Brett
people,
glasses?
I used to when I was a kid, but I don't know. No, that'll be.
Right, I'm gonna buy a pair because I want to do a photo shoot of us like the
around this time. I did actually. So the question that we just put up for anybody that's listening audio only, if we do audio only still, do you think that Brett was that way, the way he was because of how Hogan did him at Mania in Vegas? No. I think Brett is the way he was because of the way Hogan did him at SummerSlam. So when Hogan does that thing at WrestleMania, now this is a way off tangent, but it's fine. You know what? Let's talk about this instead, because here's the thing. Diesel power bombs Tatanka and wins. The match sucked. End of King of the Ring 95. We're moving on. Sorry.
I love it.
That's all the discussion. That's all the discussion that match merits. It's a Raw main event. If you've seen any tag team Raw main event, you've seen that match. And it's worse than most of them. So what happened was Bret Hart loses the title to Yokozuna at WrestleMania 9. This is back in 1993. So Hogan comes in, let me fight, like Mr. Fuji challenges Hogan. Hogan comes in, drops leg, wins the title. Hogan, at that point, the whole plan when Hogan beat Yokozuna for that title was that at SummerSlam that year in 1993, Hulk Hogan was going to lose the WWF title to Bret Hart, clean as a whistle, and it was going to be that passing of the torch moment. Hulk Hogan was champion before, he was the guy who carried the company before. Bret, it's your company now. Hulk Hogan decided he didn't want to do that. He decided Bret is too small. I will drop the belt to Yokozuna at King of the Ring 1993, and then I'm gone. I'm done. He did it. Actually, no, he did that, and I think he did a few matches afterward in Europe for a European tour. Mm-hmm. So then, by the time that, in fact, I guess there was Bret was so hot at that he went backstage and they had like a chalkboard at King of the Ring 93, and Bret's a great artist, or maybe he just did it on a wall in magic marker or something. But he did. He was so pissed at Hogan at King of the Ring that he drew on somewhere he was a very good artist, and he drew a cartoon of Hulk Hogan and Brutus Beefcake engaged in some lewd and lascivious acts. So Bret was in his feelings at that point. So what happens at what happens then is Vince kind of gets nostalgic for that muscle guy. And by the time SummerSlam rolls around, that's when we get Lex Luger, the All-American babyface. And Bret doesn't get the title back until WrestleMania 10 because Luger didn't work either. But that is maybe where that Bret... Look, hey, and I understand he's bitter. I understand that he's kind of got this reputation as being a cranky old guy. If anybody in the history of professional wrestling has the right to be bitter, it is Bret Hart. Because of things like that, because of the Montreal screw job, because the company that screwed him over set up an unsafe stunt that killed his brother a year and a half later, because an unsafe worker kicked him in the head and he had a stroke. What have I said that's incorrect so far?
You're reaching.
What have I said that is incorrect so far? Answer the question.
I think you're painting. I think you're taking broad strokes with your brush here.
Look, hey, was it WWE's fault about Owen Hart? No, it was the company that set up the rigging. It was their fault.
It was an accident. At the end of the day, it
was. Yes, tell me when I'm telling lies.
It's funny.
I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make money.
I love CM Punk, and everything about Punk that I like is everything. So Punk is as loud as I like Sean back in the day, of Sean being like petty and loud about it, where Brett was more behind the scenes and just let his work speak for himself. And Punk's a perfect balance of both of them. Like, Punk is a hybrid of Brett and Sean, and I fucking love him.
and always forget what CM Punk will say. Brett was right. Brett was right.
Because he leans more towards Brett, but he understands that Brett screwed Brett.
And again, I'm not. Well, Vince did. I also understand why. It was a business decision. I get it, and it worked. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. Well, that we're gonna table the rest of that, and we'll another time. Another time. We'll do the great Brett versus Sean debate.
I
may call you a stinking hyena in that one.
I love it. All right. So this Thursday, Pilgaroo Brewing Company will be there for Fightertainment. This Saturday. Tomorrow we'll be there for Fightertainment. Saturday we'll be at Brewfest. Come drink some beers, watch some pro wrestling. And then I think that's pretty much it for a little bit. We'll be back on Sunday night, 9:00 once again for our next episode, which if you haven't had to flip that.
I might need some time to work on that. We may need to flip episodes and push that back a week. I need some time to work on that.
Okay. All right. So then we're going to push this episode back, which would have been what if King of the Ring 95 was good. Do you have an idea what you want to do this Sunday?
Well, I think we should save the Brett versus Sean thing.
Yes.
Do we have an idea from the audience? Do you have anything you would like us to... Let's cover the history of a title. Like you pick a title. You got that beautiful Intercontinental title. You want to talk about the history of the Intercontinental title? I think we've done that before, but it was the old show. We can do it again. Now you're frozen. I'm
having a day right now.
So I don't know how much of that came through, but why don't we do the history of the Intercontinental title on Sunday?
The IC title?
Yeah.
All right. I actually won this. I had to go to Rio de Janeiro, and I had to compete in a content creator tournament, and I won. Unfortunately, the city of Rio did not allow any photography, any video camera, so it was not captured. But you just gotta take my word for it. That's how I won it. I won it in a content creator battle royal. You should BP. I threw both Paul brothers out of the ring like nothing. All of them. All these top name streamers. I beat the shit out of them. And here I am as your Intercontinental
to get YouTube the Intercontinental title, not the world title.
No, everybody wants the worker belt. I mean?
That's my favorite belt design. Yeah, that's the worker belt. Yeah, that's my favorite belt design ever, the old school IC. So that's a beautiful belt.
Is it better than the tag team?
Yeah, no, I love that one.
Yeah, that's a good one too. All right, anything you want to plug, BP?
Yeah. So I do have after all this Brewfest and stuff, it'll be 2 weeks from this Saturday, PPW Conquest, August 10th at the Slatington Expo Center, Slatington, Pennsylvania. We have announced the main event is going to be the TV champion for Nolan Pierce, the PPW champion Facade, title versus title. We've also announced a match I think is going to possibly steal the show. Chris Slade has been out for a while. He is coming back to PPW on August 10th, and he is going to take on somebody who stole the show in Orwigsburg over the weekend. Dive bomb Diego Hill. I had a certain someone that we might be working with on. I had a certain someone who we might be working with on Saturday come to me after Diego Hill and GKM wrestled and go, who is that guy? Talking about Diego, and then like, oh, that's Diego.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's a regular PPW, and he's something. So
I just Diego dropped Hill, my last 5 questions with ABJ.
Yeah, 5 questions. Yeah,
with Diego Hill. Yep.
Diego Hill is a
Go ahead.
He's a gifted professional wrestler. He is a gifted professional wrestler,
and he's putting the miles in. This kid is grinding, and he wants.
Oh yeah,
and he needs eyes. He needs eyes on him.
He is making that drive from North Carolina to Pennsylvania. Yeah, one, sometimes 2 weekends, sometimes 3 weekends a month, and
that's fucking hard.
It's probably gonna happen for him. He's that good. He's that good.
Yeah. That drive
we're gonna have Diego Hill and Chris
driving
Slade.
your car from show to show to show it takes so much out of your personal life, so much out of your car, your mileage, your money, your time. Like it's a lot, and this kid's willing to do it. He's willing to grind.
We're gonna have Sammy Chaos and Harleen Lopez, the 2 hardest hitting women in PPW for the women's title. Can't wait for that one. Travis Norbert's gonna bring a team. Chris White, the head honcho of the Slatington Expo Center, and one of the head honchos for Funk Brewing. He's going to be fielding a team. They're going to go head-to-head again. I want to make sure I'm just announcing matches we've already announced because I don't want to give away stuff. I know one. Here, sneak preview. I know it. I think
nobody watches this from PPW.
I don't think we have officially. I think we. Oh, who's going to give me trouble? Paul? Is Paul going to yell at me? So I know this one we put out on the email list, and I think we're putting it out tonight for the No Limits title. Tom Mitchell making his first defense of the No Limits title against the former champion, the greatest No Limits champion there ever was, Rembrandt.
The greatest No Limits champion there ever was. And then if you like Sammy Chaos, you get to hear her first full story Monday at 7:00 on the ABJ podcast.
That's going to be so good.
And then Tuesday, I'll have the founding member of Taking Back Sunday, bass player Eddie Reyes, on the podcast. So that'll be a lot of fun, too. So those episodes titles are still good, but we just got to change up next week for that and do the history of the IC Championship. Definitely putting Perfect on the thumbnail. Sean's on the thumbnail.
Oh, yeah.
Macho Man's on the thumbnail.
Randy Savage better be on the thumbnail. Razor Ramon.
He's front and center. He's front and center.
The
Razor Ramon's on the
man,
thumbnail.
Gunther.
The Miz, Jericho,
Gunther, the Mountie.
I only like Gunther's ring because it was 666. But all right, that'll do it. This lag's fucking pissing me off. I gotta go figure some stuff out. Yeah, the Mountie, of course. But yes, we will get out of here. Here's some music by the Converse Kid. We'll see you guys very, very soon. We're out of here. Bye. Oh, t-shirts, merchandise, support the podcast, join us on YouTube, subscribe and do a monthly fee if you can. If you can't, I understand, but go grab some merchandise and some t-shirts on TeePublic, Teespring, and super chats and donations if you're watching it later. If you're listening to this later in your audio in your car, or if you're watching this on YouTube still, subscribe to us on Spotify and give us a play or a listen. 5-star reviews help out a lot. There's a lot of ways to consume this podcast and this content. Follow us on social media, and we'll see you on the next one. Tornado Tag, we're out of here. I wanted to do